When I look back at the men I chose to love, it's clear now. I wasn't choosing with my heart. I was choosing with my trauma. I was a dismissive, avoidant attachment style woman who had no clue of what a healthy, secured attachment style of loving was. Welcome, my loves, to the Hardened and Healed Podcast. Hey loves, let's sit on down. Oh boy, do I have some explaining to do. So first, what I want to say is just thank you so much for always allowing me into your home for each and every episode of the Hardened and Healed Podcast. You have no idea how good it feels to be welcomed by you. But I am not going to just get right into topic and act like I've been here. I did take a little bit of a hiatus for a few reasons. One is I was definitely working on that assessment test that I promised you guys. I want to make certain that it was simple. It wasn't so intricate. I realized in going through a lot of the other assessment tests, which I've taken a few of them, 5 minutes is a pretty lengthy time to actually take those tests. And also too, it just gives you too much thought. I didn't want questions that made you go back and forth between one or the other. I wanted the options to be very specific so that you know you when you see you. But of course, that takes a little bit of time. So that's still no excuse for not being present, but also for a new location. Now, I didn't change location in your home. I am still coming over. That isn't going to change. However, I have relocated for convenience and also to make certain that this podcast remains accessible and on schedule. That is very important to me. So I apologize for the hiatus, but we're going to pick up where we left off. So first, I thought it was best that we do a little bit of a recap. There are 15 previous episodes before this one. And so if you have not viewed any of them, I encourage you to rewind and go back. So let me reintroduce myself. My name is London. I am your healologist. What does that mean? That means that I have been on this journey of healing and I have arrived. Now, is there more healing to do? Always. But it's kind of like when you get to school, you start off at pre-K and then you get to high school and you have that grand old graduation. All that hard work pays off. But then, of course, there's still graduate school and college or trade or whatever else it is that takes you to the next level. Well, I am there. I am now headed towards my next level. And what better way to do it but to have company, right? To have somebody or somebodies to join me on their journey along with my journey to healing, to breaking generational curses, to getting over childhood trauma. It's possible. It's possible. We all suffer from it. So if you have not tapped into your own personal childhood trauma, then there's still a whole lot of healing that you need to have. Now, does that mean that you can't go on with life? No, but it just means you're not living your best life. And why am I here? Of course, for you to get to the other side of your trauma and get to your healing, because that's when we are the best versions of ourselves. Now, I would like to shed some light on those of you who have taken any of the assessment tests that I had previously listed. I hope that you were successful in finding out your attachment style. I hope that you have been doing the work and researching and finding out more details, but also seeking counseling and professional help to help you through a lot of those layers that may have need to be peeled back. Some of those things you should not do alone. So by no means am I advising that you just grab the bull by the horns and take off running. No. If you have the type of childhood trauma that was truly traumatic to you to the point where you've either blocked it out or you can't go into those dark spaces, then I would suggest that you seek counseling. Do not do that alone. It's okay to recognize that the trauma is still there. But what's most important is that you realize how it is affecting your adulthood life. I mean, that's the whole goal, right? We're not bringing childhood into adulthood. And a lot of us need to go back for the baby. Who is the baby? You, the inner child in you, the child that we are constantly trying to protect, the child that is falling out, the child that is frustrated and angry and bitter, the child that is resentful and moody and sometimes even playful and obnoxious and silly. The child that doesn't take life serious. The child that doesn't make important things important. There's so many caveats to childhood trauma. And I'm here to make sure that whatever it is, we get through it and we get through it together. So if this sounds like a journey that you would like to be on, if you would like to be the best version of yourself and the most grown-up adult you could possibly be, please keep watching. Now, I know I slipped that assessment test into the introduction, and I want to make certain that you do have the opportunity to take that. So I am going to link my own assessment test. This was thought together by a group of professionals who are in that realm of assessment testing. Explain specifically to them what it was that I needed and what the desired results were. They did a phenomenal job. It's only 20 questions, and you have to make certain that you go in that description bar and pull that up. It is a game changer. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know how important I emphasize in taking an assessment test. Now, you still have the option to take all the other ones, which I think are a little bit more in depth. They usually run you about 5 minutes, and they're probably 50 to 100 questions. So it can be pretty intense. But nevertheless, it is most important that you identify what your attachment style is. How else are you going to have a healthy attachment style to your partner, who we hope is also healthy, right? Of course. So that is going to be linked in the description bar. And guess what else is going to be sitting there waiting on you? The subscribe button. Of course, you have to hit subscribe. Hitting subscribe does great for this channel. One, it tells YouTube that, hey, we want to see her. We want to hear more from her. Also, hitting that notification bar that's right beside it and clicking it to on just says, I want to know every time she uploads a video. So you have to make certain that you turn that on. Otherwise, you're going to be lost in the loop. And then you're going to be 4, 5, 7 episodes behind. Who wants that? Certainly not you. So make certain that you are doing your assessment test, you're hitting that subscribe button, and you're turning on your notifications, okay? So now we got that out of the way. Let's talk about how we got here. So childhood trauma is usually a trauma or traumas that was established during your childhood. Do you know that this can be uteral? Absolutely. It could start as early as in the womb. And some research even say before that, it happens during conception. Isn't that crazy? So that is saying that your birth mom, whatever traumas she's carrying, she can actually pass off to you. So you come in as well with trauma. Hey, we already come in here with sin. I mean, why not add trauma to it, right? No. We're here to remove that. We're here to undo any damage that we can. So while you're experiencing this trauma, it could come in all sorts of ways. It could be a stressful mom while you're in the womb. It could be a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting. That's going to affect you after birth. It could also be loneliness and depression. It could be stress. It could be overworking. There's so many avenues of trauma that mothers experience while carrying their unborn. Then there's after birth. After birth, you start to experience traumas of your own. So you may be one of those kids where your parent may not have believed in a lot of coddling and a lot of cuddling and a lot of holding your hand. Maybe right out the womb, they wanted you to be tough. So if you were crying and they know that you were fed, they know that you were changed and you weren't ill, they let you cry. That's a little bit stressful for a newborn, right? Especially if you don't recover from it. Some go on to do what we call self-soothing, which is they find a way to soothe themselves. I was a thumb sucker. I know. My mom thought it was cute. But Even outside of just thumb sucking, some babies just learn to just pacify themselves, whether it's with a pacifier, whether it's with, just cooing and awing, things of that sort. And then some babies just cry hysterically. Till they have a headache, till they're red in the face, to the point where they're hoarse and they are out of tears. That happens. These are all forms of trauma. Now, and here you thought you escaped it. No. But then there's also early adolescence. So there's things like bullies and bullies aren't just in the schoolyard. They're sometimes at home. Parents can be bullies. Siblings can be bullies. Mima, Nana, Grandma, they all can be bullies. Pawpaws can be bullies. Next door neighbors. So there's a lot of interaction that goes on that alters the child that you become. You're either defensive or defenseless. These things make a difference. How your parents speak to you. Do they yell? Do they scream? Are they super passive? When you look at their relationship with their romantic partners, are they a pushover? Are they the aggressive? Do they have a healthy way of communicating? Are they cold? Are they shut off? Are there no hugs? Are there no kisses? Are there no words of affirmation? Do you feel like you can never do good enough? Do you feel like your best isn't your best? Do you feel unappreciated? Are you the caretaker? Are you taking care of a lot of other siblings? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of your parent? That's big. That's big because all of these behaviors, all of these experiences really cultivate the adult you will later become. Are you an overachiever? Are you an underachiever? Are you a product of substance abuse? Were your parents on drugs or alcohol? Was there an absence of parents? Did your parents pass? Did they pass you along? Do you not know your parents? Were you given up for adoption? Were you in foster care? There's a whole lot that really wreaks havoc on the core of who God has called you to be. This is all childhood trauma. And until we identify with where our hurt comes from, where it stems from, we can't become the adults that we are ordained to be. We just become a product of trauma. And our relationships suffer from them. Not just romantic, just personal, business, casual. All these relationships are now dealing with a wounded, broken child that never had the opportunity to really develop and grow and mature in a healthy way. So you ask yourself, why am I falling out when I don't get my way? Like, I'm an uproar. Like, I'm coming through like a tornado and I'm wrecking and tearing everything up in my way. That's a childish behavior. And there's a part of the child in you that is still upset about not being able to get their way. Now, I'm not saying the spoiled child because we have a little bit of that in us. Some of us do. But I'm talking about the deprived child, the child that was in lack, the child that never had, whether it was food, clothing, shelter, and a big one, protection. Protection is huge. Lack thereof is going to cause a whole lot of issues. And those are usually stemming with abandonment, neglect, and rejection. Those are huge. And I am speaking about emotional trauma because we all suffer from it, but it is the one trauma that usually goes unsaid. We speak about mental illness all the time. We give recognition to it, which is a great thing for society because one time you was just assumed crazy. That was it. Now, with medications and counseling and therapy, people are getting to a more healthier state of being. But that's all mental. What about our emotional state of being? This is so vital. It's so pivotal in our growth. Without a healthy emotional attachment, we become detached. We become detached from reality because now we're living our own. And what we presume is happening sometimes is not the case. But old traumas will stir up these mixed emotions in us that will have us leading ourselves blindly into unhealthy relationships, blindly into bad careers, blindly becoming bad parents, bad siblings, bad friends, bad spouses, not by choice, but by trauma. So what do we do about that? Well, first, of course, we take the assessment test and we find out what our attachment style is. The attachment style is going to be pivotal because it will give you that aha as to, this is making sense. I do respond in these ways. So now the assessment just tells you how you respond. You have to get to the why you respond in that way. So let's go over what those different attachment styles are. So first, there's secure. Secure is a healthy attachment style. It just says that you know how to interact with other people in a healthy way. You don't feel neglected or abandoned. You don't feel detached or uncertain. You don't feel anxious or insecure. You don't feel like you are out of control emotionally. And to be honest, if you're detached, if you're being passive, that's out of control emotionally. If you're aggressive and overly assertive, that is out of control emotionally. So people think a lack of emotions is controlling emotions, when in fact, it's out of control. Because if you aren't able to apply emotions, then that means you don't have control over them. Just the same for those who apply a lot of emotions, who are overly emotional. It's a lack of control. We have to just go ahead and admit it. So really, when you get a hold of your emotions, then you can get a hold of your actions. You can get a hold of your responses and you can have better outcomes. Have you ever overreacted to something and it was nothing like what you thought? But at that point, it's a little too late because you've already overreacted. You've already offended some people. You've hurt some feelings. And now you feel bad about it. Or in some cases, you just don't. You're like, well, that's what I thought and it is what it is. That statement tends to not always be as true as it seems. Some things aren't what we think. They're what our trauma thinks. They allow us to jump to conclusions. They allow us to come up with assumptions and then react in a way that does not line up with the outcome that we want. Right? Think about people who are in jail. But I'm talking about not the people who outright did crimes, but those who went to jail for good intentions, right? You say, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to have a conversation with my neighbor because their music is too loud. And then you go over there, you knock on the door and they snatch their door open. They're like, what do you want? And you're like, well, hold on now, because you're disturbing my peace and this is now becoming a problem. And then there's a confrontation. You have this annoyed neighbor who's blasting the music for whatever reason. And now you're an annoyed neighbor who doesn't want to hear that. These are two traumatic experiences speaking to one another. Your neighbor is blasting music for whatever reason. Maybe they need to let their hair down. Maybe they're overwhelmed and music is therapeutic for them. Maybe they're upset and they're in an uproar and this music is getting them hype. Maybe they're depressed and they're heartbroken and this music is soothing them. For whatever their reason is that they're blasting the music, trust and believe it is not about you. I hate to tell you, it's not about you. It's not to piss you off. It is for whatever therapeutic reason they see fit. Now, the reason this music is annoying you is for whatever your issues are. Maybe you don't like loud music. Maybe it's not your favorite song. Maybe you see it as inconsiderate and rude. Maybe you're taking a nap. Maybe you need some quietness. But whatever your reason is, is going to be the reason that you respond to that neighbor the way that you do. And before you know it, the cops are outside. Because either your neighbor jumped bad or you did, or you both did. But y'all weren't able to understand one another in that moment. And if you have a childhood trauma of disrespect or being overlooked or being taken advantage of, you going and knocking on that door is going to show up. Because you feel disrespected, first off, that the music is even allowed to begin with, because this is someone who's not considering you or your peace. However they answer the door and they respond to you now seems disrespectful, because first of all, you're an adult and you came over there with good intentions. You came over to ask them to turn the music down. Or in some cases, you may have went over there to tell them to turn the music down. But either way, so you could have went over there with aggression and assertiveness and said, hey, that music has to get cut off, which is not a way to talk to another adult. Or maybe you asked, hey, is it any way that you can turn the music down? Now, the person on the other end has a job to do as well. And it's to respond to either your request or your demand. And depending on their childhood and their trauma and who they are now as an adult, they may be apologetic. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was that loud. Or they might say, this is my house and my music. Get off my front porch before there's a problem. Do you see how all of this just trickles into a domino effect of emotions? Because now you end up with two people who are emotional. And if any of them choose to act erratically, this could be bad. This would be why blue lights are at the door now. Because some words were exchanged. Maybe some paws were placed on one another. Some people stood on business. And now you're in jail. It's not funny that you're in jail. So I'm not laughing at that. But it's just comical how fast a good intention can erupt to a bad outcome. Now think about had you had a little bit more restraint, right? Let's think about if you were emotionally healthy and you go to the same neighbor's door and you knock on that door and you say, hey, I don't know if you're aware, but your music is a little loud and it's disturbing me. I'm trying to read or I'm trying to sleep or it's just loud, right? You may say, I don't need to tell them all of that. I don't owe anybody an explanation. Child, that's your trauma talking. Because why can you not give an explanation? When did we give above giving explanations, right? We defend ourselves any other time. So why can't we give an explanation as to why your issue is causing a problem for me? Let's say you go over there and you're very cordial and you say this to your neighbor and your neighbor says, it's my music. It's my house. You don't like it. Sorry. And they slam the door in your face. Now, there's probably a part of you that wants to kick that door in or bam on that door until they open it again. But there's also a part of you that should have some type of restraint that says, okay, this didn't go over well. So what I may do is probably come home, write a note and slide it under the door and say, I'm not looking for confrontation. I'm asking you nicely to please turn the music down so I don't have to call the authorities. Now, this is fair warning. You now have your request in writing. You've slid it under the door. Whether they see it or not, that is to your defense. But in the next 15, 20 minutes, half hour, you have a right to call the police. They were going to show up anyway. So if you did it the other way, you might be in the back of the cop car. But by doing it this way, you get to sustain from being fingerprinted and having a rap sheet. But also, too, you get to control your emotions and not let somebody else dictate that, right? Because popping off, people think they pop off. No, somebody makes you pop off. And that is giving control. As light as you take it. I don't care how you put it. If you pop off, you gave the control to someone to piss you off and have you act in an ill manner. That is totally reflective of you. Now, am I saying don't be assertive? Am I saying not to put your foot down? Absolutely not. But what I am saying is think first. Don't let the child think for you. Don't. Do not allow a child. Would you let a child make decisions for you? Like, let's think about that. Well, even if it's the inner child in you, would you allow a child to make a decision for you? A pivotal decision, a life-threatening decision, a business-minded decision, hell, a day-to-day decision. Would you allow that? No. So when it comes to being emotionally healthy, that means that only the adult makes the decision. And if you think about it, I'm sure there are times where you can recollect in your life where you could have done something differently. You know, often we say, oh, take the high road. It's really not taking the high road. It's be an adult. That's really what that should say. Or people say, you need to grow up. Taking the high road is not taking responsibility, is not being a pushover or getting walked all over. It is being an adult about a situation, is thinking about it and making a decision that gets you the outcome you want. Because that's really what this is about at the end of the day. Getting the outcome that you want in every situation and in every relationship. We know that every action causes for a reaction. So let's not throw in the towel, or in some cases throw a temper tantrum. Let's cultivate the better version of ourselves. Sounds like somebody might have let the child make a decision for them. Hopefully, the outcome is better than it sounds. But that is definitely the popo on their way to someone's rescue. But I know it's been a minute. I'm not going to keep you long, but I definitely want to touch bases on where we are and how we got here. So let's go back over those attachment styles. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework and I'm going to get out of your home, right? So we were talking about secure, being healthy, knowing how to respond, knowing how to be mature, knowing how to take a pause, not easily offended, not so defensive, not immature or insecure, not aggressive or angry. This is a secure attachment style. And then there's unsecure. Yes, I said it, unsecure, not insecure. Because insecure is part of those attachments, but being unsecured. And what follows under that umbrella is an anxious attachment style, a dismissive avoidant attachment style, and a fearful avoidant attachment style. In some areas, they call it a disorganized attachment style. And basically what that is a combination of the two. So a fearful avoidant attachment style and a disorganized attachment style are both one and the same. It just means that you have an anxious attachment style behavior and a dismissive style attachment behavior. So you're either all in or none at all, right? You either love them long time or can't stand to be around them. And it's such a juxtaposition to be in, because when we're trying to establish relationships, one of the key components besides communication is stability. You have to be stable. You have to be emotionally stable. What good is it to be stable-minded if you're not emotionally stable, right? That just means that you can make a decision, a concrete decision, because you're stable-minded, but you are easily triggered emotionally. That pretty much forfeits the stable-mindedness. I mean, triggers are how we get to this unsecured attachment style. Something from childhood that is a dupe or a replica of an experience that you're having as an adult causes you to react. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the anxious style attachment, I will cover that again in the next episode. Because again, I don't want to be before you too long. If you are a dismissive attachment style, I will cover that in the following episode. Or who knows, maybe we'll tie the two together. You just never know. And then fearful avoidant is definitely in a class by itself. The combination of the two can be chaotic and explosive. So don't worry, if you are any of those, we are definitely going to dive in deep. We're going to get you to the other side of trauma, to the gracious side of healing. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of your hair, let you close up shop. And of course, I'm going to say what I always say. Until next time, bye, loves. Now, if you enjoyed this episode of the Hardened Healed Podcast, go ahead and subscribe, share with a friend, and turn on your notification button so that you don't miss an episode.